We're in the administration building of the boardroom in the lower level. We'll begin this meeting with a moment of silence. Thank you. Are you going to call the roll? If you want me to? Okay, Dr. Ertl, please call the roll.
Mrs. Fee?
Here.
Mr. DeRose?
Here.
Mr. Croner?
Here.
Mrs. Muehlfeld?
Here.
Mrs. Randall?
Here.
Mrs. Weber?
Excused.
And Mr. Meyer.
Here. Members of the Wauwatosa School Board value the input of students, parents, staff members, and community members. The board's regularly scheduled meetings provide an opportunity for opinions and concerns to be expressed publicly. The board values all comments and will respectfully consider this input in decision-making. The board requests that individuals limit their comment on each item to 3 minutes. Following any comment, an individual board member may respond on the issue raised. However, it is not the intent of the public comment portion of the agenda for the board to enter into a debate with members of the community. Because non-agenda items are not publicly posted in advance, no action will be taken on public comment regarding non-agenda items this evening. Is there anyone present who would like to comment on a non-agenda item? Seeing no one wishing to comment on a non-agenda item, we will move to approval of the consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda which board members would like to remove for separate discussion and action? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Mrs. Randall moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Croner seconded. Is there any discussion from the board on the consent agenda? Is there any discussion from the community on the consent agenda? Seeing none, we'll call the roll. Please, Dr. Ertl.
Mrs. Fee?
Yes.
Mr. DeRose?
Yes.
Mr. Croner?
Yes.
Mrs. Muehlfeld?
Yes.
Mrs. Randall?
Yes.
Mr. Meyer.
Yes. Motion carries 6-0. We'll now move to student learning action items. Mrs. Fee, please will you read the motion?
Certainly. High school science curriculum. It is recommended that the school board approve the revisions to the high school science curriculum as presented and discussed at the March 11th meeting as follows. A, approval of the course restructure that replaces the 4 foundational one-semester science courses, biology, chemistry, earth, space, and physics, with 3 one-year leveled courses, regular and advanced, of biology, chemistry, and physics. B, approval of Discovery Education digital science resource at a cost of approximately $90,000 for 6 years. C, approval of a minimum of 3 years of science for graduation, beginning with the 2013-2014 freshman class, to include a minimum of 1 year of a biological science and 1 year of a physical science, and I so move.
Thank you, Mrs. Fee. Is there a second?
Second.
Mrs. Muehlfeld seconded. Is there any additional presentation administration wishes to make? It's not necessary, I'm just asking.
No, I would just like to make a comment that I want to thank the Student Learning Department, Mrs. Ehrenberger, Mr. Dettinger, and Mrs. Patrick from the Science Department and all of the science teachers for all the work that they've done to get to this point. To me, this is a pretty exciting evening when we're having this up for approval and some pretty exciting changes. It's been a long time coming, and I think this is going to be really good for our kids. And this, in addition to the science labs being updated, really an exciting time for science in our school district, along with elementary and middle school last year. So really looking forward to where this is going to go. And again, thank you to everybody that put their time and effort and heart and soul into this recommendation.
Any board comment? Mrs. Muehlfeld, please.
I would also like to add that there was a article recently on social media, and hundreds of people responded positively to that article, and I would take that as a large community approval of the direction that we're heading.
Any additional board comment? Mr. Croner, please.
This is more of a technical comment on the motion itself. I'm not sure that we can vote on item C tonight because that's actually a policy item. We have policy 5460 graduation requirements, which lists the specific requirements and the total number of credits that students are taking. And if I'm right, if we're adding extra science, we're bumping up the number of credits required. I just think if we're going to do this, we should approve the policy like we normally approve policies, not just add a sentence independent of the policy.
Can I come?
Dr. Ertl, did you have
I mean, one of the things, we are going to be bringing that policy back to the board at some time in the near future in relationship to the block and 8-period day at the high school, because graduation credits are going to, or requirements are going to increase, or the recommendation is going to be to increase them throughout. And this is going to be included. It was fully the intent that we include this in with that. I think what this does by approval is directing that to be part of the policy.
So I don't have a problem with what we're doing, but it's very highly unusual for us to approve a new sentence in a policy without having the policy rewritten in before us. So I guess if you want to go ahead, you can, but it's not the way we normally do things.
Is there any other board comment? I will comment. It may be unusual, but it is special. So we will vote on this tonight as it stands unless there is a motion and a second and a vote to amend. I think that any matters related to the policy, I don't see any significance in this tonight. So that said, I would like to say that we are a grateful community tonight for all that was done by all of the good people who worked on this. And you have given us an opportunity to be so very proud of our school district because of what you have done. So thank you. And with that, I'll call the roll. Mr. Ertl, please call the roll.
Mrs. Fee?
Yes.
Mr. Giroux?
Yes.
Mr. Croner?
Yes.
Mrs. Muehlfeld?
Yes.
Mrs. Randall?
Yes.
Mrs. Meyer? Mr. Meyer?
Yes.
Sorry.
Motion carries 6-0. All right, is there any community comment on non-agenda items? Seeing none, at this time, we will leave the open portion of our agenda, and the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn the regular school board meeting and reconvene in executive session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 19.85, paragraph 1, subparagraph F, to discuss impact of the change to the United Healthcare as the district's third-party administrator on individual employees, where such discussions may include consideration of financial, medical, social, or personal histories of specific individuals, which, if discussed in public, would be likely to have a substantial adverse effect upon the reputation of any person referred to in such histories or data, or involved in such problems or investigations. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Randall. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Giroux. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, Dr. Ertl, please call the roll.
Mrs. Fee?
Yes.
Mr. Giroux?
Yes.
Mr. Croner?
Yes.
Mrs. Muehlfeld?
Yes.
Mrs. Randall?
Yes.
Mr. Meyer?
Yes. We are now in executive session after the public clears the room. Thank you.